Hey, I've got an idea. Let's get out in the great outdoors. Pretty cool being out here studying matter on the Rogue River with you. I'm sitting here on the river and I'm thinking about matter. And I also want to let you know that matter has physical and chemical properties. We're going to talk first about physical properties, things that can be characteristics of matter that can be measured or observed, or even changed as long as the actual matter itself doesn't change. Let's think about some of those. Like in the river right now, what are some of the properties of that water? One property of matter that can be measured is temperature. I'm going to hold this thermometer in this water for about 10 seconds. I'll speed it up a little. And I'm going to measure the temperature of the water along the Rogue River. Check it out. So right now, the water is measuring just above freezing. It's about 34, 35 degrees, and Fahrenheit. It's going down because now the wind is blowing on it, making wind chill. So temperature is something we can measure, and it's a property of matter. Whoa, check out this sand. It's a solid, and it has its own properties too. One physical property is color. The sand is kind of a light tan or beige color, and then the bark of this maple tree is kind of a gray-brown. And then we look at the color of the moss down below it, and the moss is green. So these colors are properties of these types of matter. Color is an observable property, physical property of matter. Friends, have you ever felt the texture of bark on a tree? Some bark is rough, some bark is smooth. I think we did that way back in Lower Elementary. Well, texture is another physical property that matter has. Texture. So matter has physical properties, characteristics, physical characteristics that can be measured or observed or even changed as long as they don't change the substance. So we've seen that texture in floating and sinking, in color. Those are physical properties that we observe. Even odor. Ooh, what's that smell? Ooh, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Did you know smell is actually a physical property of matter? Many different elements have their own smell. It's amazing. Some of the measurable properties of matter include things like temperature, mass, volume, density. We'll get into that more later. And things like boiling point, whether a substance dissolves or not, solubility, that's a property of matter. Matter is just so much fun to study. It's all around us. So mass is how much matter is in something, and volume is how much space it takes up. So then density is how tightly packed the atoms that make this rock up, how tightly packed they are. It's the amount of mass per unit of volume. So if I think about it, it makes sense. This rock has more mass per volume than this stick. The stick feels very, very light compared to the heavier rock. So density has to do with how tightly packed the particles are that make that rock, how tightly packed the particles are that make the stick. There's much more airspace in this stick. Hey, because it's less dense, I bet the stick will float. Ta-da! Wood floats. There's air trapped in it. The particles aren't spaced so tightly together. This rock, on the other hand, is much denser than the wood. When I drop the rock in the water, I think you know what's going to happen. Oh, I got my phone wet. It sinks like a rock. Oh, it is a rock. It sinks like a rock because it's denser. It's denser than the water. Amazing. Density is a property of all matter. Density. Hey friends, remember these? Graduated cylinders are tools that we use to measure volume. They're more precise than beakers. These are graduated cylinders. They're kind of like tubes with numbers on them. Whoa, perfect. Graduated cylinders. They're tools to use to measure volume. They measure in milliliters. Awesome. Hey, I wonder what the mass of this cow is. I'll find out using my two-pan balance of science. Ready? First I'll put the cow in there. There's 20, 30, 35 grams. Ta-da! It's balancing. A two-pan balance is a tool we can use to find mass. Mass is usually measured in grams. Two-pan balance. Real scientists would probably use an electronic balance. This saves a lot of time, of course. Look, here goes the cow. Moo! Whoa, pretty close to what we had with the two-pan balance. The cow has a mass of 35 3/10 of a gram. An electronic balance can measure mass. Moo! Move over, cow. Will it float? Will it float? Will it float? Will it float? 1, 2, 3. The soccer ball floats on water. Is that soccer ball more or less dense than the water? This ant is made of hard plastic. Will it float? Will it float? Will it float? Will it float? Let's give it a try. 1, 2, 3. The ant sinks in water. Is the ant more or less dense than the water? More dense. Hello, friends. More. So we've learned that matter has physical properties, characteristics that you can either observe or even measure. Take a look at some of the physical properties of matter. These are just some. There are more. Take a look. Physical properties can be observed properties like color, texture, shape, odor. Hey, you. If it's magnetic or not. If it conducts electricity or heat. These are some of the observed physical properties of matter. Measured properties of matter can be things like mass measured in grams, volume measured in milliliters, density measured in grams per milliliter, and temperature measured in degrees Fahrenheit or degrees Celsius. Friends, get to know matter. Anything that takes up space and has mass. And know now that matter has special physical properties. Hey, and now for your Seesaw assignment, tell me what tools we use to measure some of these measured physical properties of matter. Tell me about the tools we use. And tell me more about the observed physical properties like color, texture, shape, odor. Tell me about those physical properties for your assignment. I know you're going to do excellent. Good job, friends. It really does matter.